Hello, this is Alice Wheaton, and thank you for joining me today where I talk about forgiveness. You know, whoever I speak to about forgiveness, almost every person says, oh, yeah, I need to do some of that for myself. There's a few people in my life that I need to forgive. And then I say, well, what are you waiting for? And you might laugh at this. I know I did when I first heard it. They say, I want to get revenge first and then forgive. And I can understand that when we're hurt, when we're sad, when we're disappointed, when someone has let us down, it just doesn't seem fair. But the problem is that over lifetime, we're going to have multiple events where we're going to feel offended, where we're going to be treated unfairly, we may be disparaged amongst our friends. And so if we don't have a process of forgiving the big things, as well as the small things, then what happens is that we're going to become co-opted by the revenge and the resentment. So the opposite of forgiveness is actually resentment. And the opposite of resentment is compassion. So a very small amount of compassion for the situation or the person can help you begin to ease into forgiveness, or as I like to say it, you'll live a life that's unburdened by emotional distraction and emotional pain. So you're probably wondering, why me? What is it about Alice Wheaton that's a forgiveness expert? Well, I'll tell you a story. 10 years ago, I was visiting my elderly dad, and I had a relative that has been angry with me for a very long time. And he's angry with me because we were comparing our parents, and I actually said I preferred my mother. Sorry about that. I preferred my father over my mother. And he became very angry and said he'd never speak to me again, and he didn't. But I had adored him and loved him and looked up to him, so suddenly that relative was not available for me. So I was visiting my dad, and it was in a northern Newfoundland. And in the middle of the night, around 1 a.m., I was awoken by a voice in my head, and it said, get up and start writing. Well, I needed to sleep, and so I started to argue, literally out loud. While the voice was a thought in my head, I was arguing, no, I need to sleep, I've traveled a long ways. But the voice kept persistent and kept saying, get up and start writing. So I got up and started writing. And I wrote the book Imperfect Forgiveness. That's now translated into 7 languages around the world. It's endorsed by Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. And what I discovered as I wrote it is that everything that had been inside me, all the pain, the anger, the frustration, the neediness, the fear, doubt, and insecurity, actually I was guided to write that down into this book. And if it hadn't been for that relative whom I had adored distancing from me, that book would never have been written. And so what I learned is that whatever shows up in my life can be transformed. And when we transform how we feel about the event, then we can actually transform our lives. And so the 4 videos I'm going to be presenting to you, the first one is talking about the health aspect of forgiveness. The second one will be talking about how it impacts our wealth. And the third one impacts our love life, our relationships, and whether or not we have great sex. And you might wonder, well, what the heck does forgiveness have to do with great sex? Well, that's going to be in the 3rd video, and I'll be happy to share that with you then. So, as I've worked with people over the years, I've come to understand that there's 4 kinds of forgiveness. And when I hear people talk about, I have to forgive someone, I quickly encourage them to realize that you don't have to forgive someone in one fell swoop. If you're ready today, you can begin to forgive with 1%. Just 1% forgiveness will create the storm of release that you need in order to move on with your life. And so the second kind of forgiveness, the first kind is, of course, forgiving someone else. The second kind is asking other people to forgive you. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. And the third kind is asking for God's forgiveness, or whatever you perceive God to be. Because sometimes you just can't forgive that miserable bastard that has hurt you so much. And the fourth kind of forgiveness is forgiving ourselves. When I work with my clients in coaching situations, I'm sometimes just humbled and devastated for a period of time inside myself that people are so hard on themselves. People go into fear, doubt, insecurity, procrastination, fear of failure, fear of rejection, and a lot of that is just another way to be hard on ourselves for being a perfectly imperfect human being. And so, what would it be like if we could forgive those four areas of dispute again and again and again, and do it easy and quickly? Let me just show you here. I'm just going to move to the right here where I've already got a flip chart prepared. So there you are, your sweet self. There's your big heart. And we talk about energy flow. And you know how sometimes you meet someone at a party and you think, oh, I wish I could be a friend to that person? In fact, 3 months ago, I met someone at a beauty salon and she whizzed in and whizzed out, but we connected. And both of us realized that we wanted to see each other because she's a strong, powerful woman, and I love working with and being around strong, powerful women. And so 4 days ago, she phoned me out of the blue and said, look, I don't know you, you don't know me, but let's connect because I really feel compelled to be friends with you, or at least connect with you to see if we can be friends. Well, it was one of the most exciting afternoons I had yesterday, spending the time with her. And so what happened is that both of us were attracted to each other's energy, or the essence of who we are, or what we project into the world. Let me show you that. So we have our big heart here, and we want the best for ourselves, our families, and our friends, and of course, the world. But here are the fragments of disappointment and resentment that we have. And the more we have of those there that are not cleaned off, as you say, that are not dismantled, that are not neutralized, the less we experience in life. If you've been wondering, why don't I get that promotion? Why has this relationship failed? Why am I not doing well in my health? It might be some of this. It might be that there are these issues that are stuck there, and for want of knowing a process, then they're actually holding you back, but you're not aware of it. And you'd be amazing how quickly these are revealed to you, and also how peacefully they are. You know, whatever happened in the past. It's possible to realize all of that in a neutral way that doesn't hurt, that doesn't cause anyone to feel worse than they did before. But when they are removed, what happens is that they're replaced with the hearts. Our true self shows up. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Course in Miracles, but it says that the only two emotions we have are either fear or love. Can you imagine what it would be like if you did an audit, an inventory of the fears and the area of love that you express, and then you change the fears and all the issues that cause you not to be your greatest, not to be the achiever that you know you are inside? What would that be like? What would that be like to have all of these transformed? And by the way, I can tell you from first experience that having this in your life does not make you a wimp. You don't have to have these rough edges in order to defend yourself, in order to protect yourself, in order to get that next proposal, or the next promotion, or to have that wonderful, fantastic, lasting relationship with, yes, all that great sex that we all like to have. And so, pardon me. And so, what's next? What's next is that I'm going to present to you an idea about how it affects your health. So as you know, at the back of in our back, at the top of our kidneys, are two little tiny glands called the adrenal glands. And whenever these are stressed, our bodies shoot out cortisol. That cortisol causes inflammation in our system, and we actually become unhealthy. Blood pressure goes up, etc., etc. So that is just one example of how having a courteous heart, how forgiving can impact our health. There's another way it can impact our health, and that's in a more superficial way, in that it makes you look at least 10 years younger. When I work with my clients and they've gone through just 2 or 3 months of really understanding what the issues that block them are and where resentment is stored in their body, they suddenly look 15 years younger. I'll tell you why. Because when we're burdened with this, it's painful and we shrink. We think we're offering our best to the world, but we're actually not. And so it's my passion to transfer the knowledge of forgiveness and how it impact your life and your career and your relationships in a way that makes everyone on this planet healthier and happier and full of peace. Don't you think this world is ready for peace? My vision for this program is that within 1.5 to 2 years, there will be hundreds of people who are using my exact program to speak into the lives of others on platforms all over the world. That's my vision. I need you to help me do that. Stay with me, and I'll come back and talk to you briefly in 2 or 3 days about how forgiveness impacts the wealth in your life. Thanks for being with me today. See you soon.